Yo, what up, everybody? It's your boy Carson Fox with another episode of Fox on West Virginia Mountaineer Sports, and we're recapping the Mountaineers' thrilling victory at Milan Puskar Stadium on Senior Day yesterday, 42-21, Old Gold and Blue over the Cincinnati Bearcats in their first year in the Big 12 Conference. West Virginia upping its overall record to 7-4, 5-3 in Big 12 play. Cincinnati dropping to 3-8, 1-7 in Big 12 play. And this was big for the Mountaineers for a number of reasons, which we talked about in the preview show. One, finishing out the home slate with a 5-1 record, sending off the seniors in a right manner with a victory, sending Don Nealon on his enshrinement day with a victory. On the touchdown terrace at Milan Puskar Stadium, getting one game closer toward its West Virginia's goal of 8 wins for the season, increasing their better odds for a better bowl bid at the end of the season with one game left to play. So, as I like to do in these recap videos, I'll give you a recap in 2 minutes or fewer. Try to stay under that as close as I can. I don't know if I'm going to get 2 minutes. I'm going to try and go as fast as I can, but give you the recap of the game as quick as I can, give you some thoughts and analysis. This won't be one of my longer videos. I don't know if there's a lot to say, but there's not a whole lot to say because of how uncompetitive of a game it was. But I just want to talk about the game itself. So here's the recap, 2 minutes or fewer. I'll try and stay around 2 minutes as close as I can. So West Virginia received the opening kickoff, drove right down the field, but a Cole Taylor holding call on 2nd and 10 at the Cincinnati 28-yard line stalled out the drive. 52-yard field goal attempt by Michael Hayes, no good, not the best start by the Mountaineers. 3 and out by Brady Lichtenberg, who was starting at quarterback for the Bearcats. So that's an interesting point that we talked about from the preview show. Was it going to be Lichtenberg? Was it going to be Emory Jones? And we'll get into that. And the UC offense, punt down to the West Virginia 9. A drive full of running by first Jaheim White, then C.J. Donaldson, then Garrett Green. Ended in a Green rushing touchdown, 7-0 Mountaineers. 5 and out by Emory Jones now at quarterback in the UC offense. Punt down to the WVU 15, 2 rushes by White, a big-time 3rd and 8 rush by Garrett Green for a first down, and then bam, a teardrop 15-yard pass to the sidelines to White. He turned into a 75-yard touchdown catch and run, 14-0 Mountaineers. Fast forward 3 series, WVU with excellent field position at the Cincinnati 40, 27-yard rush by Green, followed by a 13-yard touchdown rush by Donaldson off left tackle, 21-0 all Mountaineers. 6:07 left in the second quarter. The WVU defense, unfortunately, let up off the gas pedal just a bit, and the Cincinnati offense took advantage, thanks in part to a Brady Lichtenberg 15-yard rush, a 22-yard completion to Evan Prater, who bounced out of arm tackles by Beanie Bishop and Raleigh Collins, and then a 17-yard rush by Lichtenberg down to the WVU 1. Jones pounded the ball up the middle for a touchdown, 21-7 West Virginia. The offense woke back up for the WVU offense. A couple of electric runs by Green and 2 completions to Cole Taylor, 28-7 Mountaineers just before the half, capitalizing with a 3-score lead. Out of the half, Cincinnati advanced to midfield but was forced to punt. WVU countered with a 12-play, 88-yard touchdown drive, capped off by Green's 3rd rushing touchdown of the game, 35-7 Mountaineers. 3 and out by Cincy. 2 20-yard shots by Green to Taylor and then Green to Carter. 3 consecutive rushes by White, ending in a touchdown, 42-7, and the rout was on at that point in the final minute of the third quarter. Maybe the best drive of the day by the Bearcats, big pass plays by Jones to Xavier Henderson, then a 30-yard touchdown to Chamon Mateer, spooked Neil Brown into keeping his starters into the game, 42-14 Old Gold and Blue, but then for the WVU offense, 2 rushes, 68 yards later by Jaheim White, 1st and goal at the Cincy 7, but on 3rd and 8, White whip-kicked blocked Cincy's Deshaun Pace, nullifying a Cole Taylor touchdown reception that would have put West Virginia up 49-14 at that point. Instead, it was a 3rd and 23. Green throws an interception right to Cincinnati defensive back Ken Willis. He returns it out 16 yards. So Cincinnati starts out the drive at its 17-yard line, and a do-it-himself kind of drive by Emory Jones in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. A very impressive drive by Jones, capped off by a touchdown pass to Mateer from 7 yards out, 42-21, which proved to be the final score after the Mountaineers picked up 2 first downs. Nico Marchiol got into the game at quarterback and kneeled out the clock in victory formation. So just a few points to talk about for this game. West Virginia did, thankfully, and this is not to toot my own horn, but this is why I give you these 3 points to the game, 3 keys to victory during my preview shows, is because this, simply put, I knew going into this game that from a roster standpoint, a headspace standpoint of where this team was at, Cincinnati really didn't have anything to play for, and which I'll get to in a second. Head coach Scott Satterfield just completely botched the coaching from the start from this one. So it was easy out there. You needed to torch them down the field. West Virginia did it with rushing instead of receiving, but still had over 200 yards through the air passing in this contest, which is better than their per-game average. Your defense played great in the front 7 to hold them down, get Cincinnati off the field on short series, got the ball back, and scored. That's what you do. That's what you do to punish a team. That team that, West Virginia, no one feels bad. I love this after, I think it was the Houston game or the Oklahoma State game. Neil Brown saying, no one feels bad for West Virginia in this conference. No one feels bad for West Virginia in this conference. Nobody feels bad for West Virginia from a national standpoint, and we saw that play out this past summer from the media's perspective, is West Virginia has to be a disruptor. It has to go against the grain. It needs to take heads and no mercy whatsoever at any time. So there's no feeling sorry for pounding poor old Cincinnati coming into the Big 12 conference, losing its head coach, losing so many players to the transfer portal. Oh, woe is me, Cincinnati. No. Put that all to bed. That's all white noise on the outside. You know how bad Oklahoma, if Oklahoma would have played against this Cincinnati team instead a week prior? So now that I've kind of set that as the tone for this analysis of the game, this is where this program needs to change its official hashtag from for next year from Trust the Climb to Make the Ascension. This program is not a 6-6, 500 per game average team. That this team needs to get back into the national conversation of being a ranked team. So if that's where the fans stand, that's what you hear on social media, every single game and week in and week out. And here's the thing, I feel like I try and stay up to date on news and as much as what's happening from within the program and in recruiting and NIL and the national conversation and everything. And so far over this, probably the last 2 years, I've given West Virginia a lot of benefits of the doubt of what West Virginia needed to do to rebuild, and we're kind of a little bit stalled out there, I feel like, because of COVID and the evolution of the transfer portal in use with collectives and NIL. So I've been very patient, I feel like, in some respects, even though I thought that West Virginia rightly could have fired Neil Brown after the Kansas loss last year at home. So having said that, and the athletic department, Guy and Ren Baker, sticking with head coach Neil Brown for this year, I kind of knew what was in place, that you needed to have a good retention plan. West Virginia did that, and now they've come out here and they've played, except losing that Houston game, they've played everybody. You've beaten the teams that you should beat. You haven't beaten the teams that you should be more, or at least be more competitive with. So if that's the expectation, that is where I'm going to go with the analysis in this game. So Cincinnati was a bad roster with a bad head coach, bad culture. You needed to go out there and just whip them like you whipped Duquesne. And that's exactly what West Virginia did from the get-go, staying aggressive. And this is word to the wise for this program and for its head coach, this is how you need to coach every single game, no matter the opponent. It does not matter, like Oklahoma beating Southeastern Missouri State or something week 1, whoever they played, and beat them 66-0. That's the kind of attitude, whether you're playing Duquesne or whether you're playing Oklahoma State or for next year, Penn State, playing week 1 Penn State. So I'm really impressed when I saw this stat, and I liked it on Twitter. This is, I think, what shows when people want to argue improvement. It's kind of performances like this. Keenan Cummings, who does a great job for Rivals, finding this stat, that West Virginia's 9.8 yards per play in this contest was the highest since a West Virginia offense 2006 in the Backyard Brawl, when West Virginia averaged 10.2 yards per play. That's incredible. So when you want to talk about improvement and like what Neal Brown accomplished in his 5 years at West Virginia, there you go. You just had the best offensive performance in a game in 17 years. So, I think the first place we got to start out as to why Jaheim White is a star. He's fantastic. This was a 5-star find, I feel like, by this coaching staff. 21 carries for 204 yards rushing, 1 reception, the home run hit he had, the 1 catch for 75 yards, so 2 touchdowns on the day. He has now, this is kind of a awkwardly worded stat found by the signal caller Jed Drenning, but he now has the highest yards per carry average of any Power 5 running back who has played in 75% or more of a team's game and had 4 or more carries per game. So I think that's all to say that he's not just a compliment second string to C.J. Donaldson. This is a guy that needs to be starting. I think now he's going to eat. And if you've followed me on this channel game in and game out, you know I'm a big C.J. Donaldson guy. He's awesome. He's everything you want, I feel like, packaged in a running back. But it's harder and harder based upon what you're seeing produced week in and week out. The Jaheim White does not demand more carries, does not deserve the ball in his hand more frequently than he's already getting, because that kid is just a home run hit pretty much every time he touches the ball. Great vision, cuts back well, has the burner speed. He's the entire package. 80 carries for now 659 yards on the season, with 3 touchdowns rushing. Had the big catch from this one really upped his receiving number, so just 2 catches but 81 yards and a touchdown receiving. I don't know how you can't say that he won't be a freshman All-American, and the scariest part is I don't want him to do so well, and that the SEC teams come calling and just want to offer him a boatload of money, knowing that he has at least 2 more years of eligibility before he could potentially go pro. I mean, I don't want to jump way ahead of myself to say that, that's the kind of trajectory that he's on. But I mean, how can you not watch that performance against Cincinnati? And granted, I said at the onset here of this analysis that Cincinnati isn't. I don't think this is very far from Duquesne at this point in the season. But, I mean, wow. That kid was just incredible out there. And that's when I wonder if, I know, a guy I'm friendly with on Twitter, Brandon Phoenix of the Raspy Voice Kids, is, the last few weeks is, kind of made fun of, in a way, sarcastically being facetious of what Neal Brown said about it. Is he ready? Is he ready? Is he ready? I wonder if Neal Brown knew that Jaheim White had it in him all along and was holding him back from potentially showing it till later at this point in the season, when West Virginia had more games in which you needed to win. I think that's a little too much. I think you're not going to hold back your best soldiers from your biggest battles and not getting him more involved against Penn. He's a true freshman. I mean, he's figuring it out there. He made the obvious mistake in the whip kick, trying to not want to take on a pass block. And that's what was, been criticized of him at points in time of games that he wasn't as involved in. I think Oklahoma State's again of a game I think of is you got to bring it, even if it takes that pounding on your body of going out there and blocking Cincinnati's best defensive player on a pass block in a game that's inconsequential. So at that point in time to score that touchdown. So he is still learning. All these guys, I mean, sometimes we forget that they're coming from, high school systems a lot of times where they're the star, and then they got to come in and kind of fit the mold into a position and learn those skills and traits of your position as part of an entire unit. So, but as a runner and just an overall halfback in this offense, Jaheim White's got to be used at the same level, if not more, as C.J. Donaldson from here on out. So second point of why this offense was so good, got to talk about him, the senior quarterback, Garrett Green. 12 for 19 passing for 210 yards, 11 carries for 154 yards rushing, and 3 touchdowns rushing. First and foremost, and I've said a lot of complimentary words about Garrett Green this season, moxie, warrior, playmaker. Maybe most defines Garrett Green is he's just going to go out there and make plays. I mean, that's why I said it as I did in the recap is, what was it? The third down and, let me go try and find back to it. This was like in the first or second quarter. No, it was the first quarter when it was 7-0 West Virginia. 3rd and 8. West Virginia's like inside its own 20-yard line. Needed everything to go right on this play. Had the blocks in front of him, saw the ball downfield. Green takes off a run, runs left, if you've seen this on video highlights on Twitter, and he just gets enough for a first down to continue the series instead of wanting to punt it back and this become a game. So it was like a single solitary inflection point like that. West Virginia gets the first down, very next play, bam, that's your home run to Jaheim White. You score 14-0, changes the whole complexion of the game, it seems like, at that point in time. So you need plays like that. Garrett Green gives it to you. Where I will be a little critical, and again, you're going to be, Carson, you won by 3 touchdowns. What more do you want from this kid? Like, why are you so hard on him every single week? That's not why I'm saying this. Like, he's the fastest and best runner since Pat White. His read options, and when he runs the ball out of the read option or gives it, is getting better and better by the week and more unpredictable, and you saw it in this contest, and that's why he had success. Here's where I think that Garrett Green can take his level of a quarterback from right now, right on the cusp of being an A, to being one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks in the Big 12 Conference next year. So when you put it in that context and that perspective, take that whoa and be like, okay, well, now I'm listening. He needs to be a little bit more patient within the pocket. Sometimes he just gets a little too juiced, a little too antsy, and you've seen this all year long, and you saw it again in this game. He overthrows some guys. I think he missed a Preston Fox, and I think he missed just about every single receiver at one point in time on an overthrow in this contest. So I don't know if it's necessarily just an accuracy standpoint. It's just from like a psyche standpoint, and it comes with more of just experience and patience, but calmness from within the pocket. Now, I wouldn't call for the guy to ever turn off that innate instinct within his head of when he needs to run, because I'd rather see him go out there, run all over the place like a jitterbug, and say, man, I wish he would have like thrown the ball or done something different than try and run the ball there, than take a sack, take an unnecessary hit, and it really cost you in that way, shape, or form. Because it's hard to, when you have a guy who plays like a Mexican jumping bean out there, and if you know what a Mexican jumping bean is, you know what I mean. He can do so much for you in that phase of the game that makes plays that other quarterbacks can't do around college football. That's what makes him exciting. That's what gives this West Virginia offense this added dimension that it hasn't had for 4 seasons under Austin Kendall, Jarrett Deggy, and JT Daniels. So that's what's given West Virginia a chance and beaten some quality Big 12 opponents in TCU, in Texas Tech, in UCF. And then, some of and kept you in contention in some of these contests like Penn State and like Oklahoma State. So, and obviously Houston. We can't forget that Houston, which was probably his best passing performance of the year. I think that West Virginia needs a new quarterback coach to take someone there. I don't know if Sean Reagan would know, and it takes a special kind of quarterback coach, I feel like. I'm pointing toward like the great one in Pat White, for someone to be able to coach a player like Green, of teaching him how to do, and he's getting better with this with time and experience and practice and game reps of the read option. And he's getting so much better at that, especially with Jaheim White next to him in the backfield. But just that instinct. I went and watched back some of the, started out with the 2007 highlights of West Virginia, Cincinnati, to preview for this game, which then got me just taking a look at some other games, like the Sugar Bowl with White. And there is just so many times that White just had this confidence, that White had this, I don't even know what to call it. And again, I know it's comparing, but you know what? Some of those old Big East teams, I don't buy that exactly from Shane Lyons. That Cincinnati team in 2007 with Ben Mock and Marcus Barnett and what they were going against in West Virginia's defense that had a ton of seniors all across it. I don't think that this was such a watered down Big East, that it was uncompetitive. It's changed. College football has definitely changed over the last 15 to 20 years, don't get me wrong. And there's so much talent concentrated in the Southeast now. But with that being said, there were still some northern eastern powers at that point in time, 15, 20 years ago. And what White just had, whereas then if you want to try and compare him to Major Harris, and the way White and Major Harris are sometimes very hard to compare, I feel like, the more I watch of Major Harris. But Green's very similar to White, but White didn't play from within the pocket as much as, or he did, but he threw a lot of bubble screens and did a lot of roll. But that's also what's good about Green, is Green's very good from on his rollouts. So a coach who has coached quarterbacks to success running an RPO offense predominantly from within the pocket. Or the scramble game, which you've seen a lot of this year out of Garrett Green. But it's just there's just some certain things from a footwork standpoint, from a touch standpoint on his passes, that's what Garrett Green can improve upon to take him to that A-grade level for 2024. So if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear your feedback. What do you think about Garrett Green? Did that really encompass it? Did that encapsulate who Garrett Green is a player and what you can see from him moving ahead for 2024? Leave your comments here on YouTube. So I do think Cincinnati shot themselves in the foot by switching back and forth between quarterbacks and Emory Jones and Brady Lichtenberg. Should have just stayed with one and rolled with him. And I think it would have been Jones would have given you the best chance to win, although Lichtenberg really wasn't bad. He had a couple of those big plays, but I could just tell, and you hear this sometimes from, I think, when you switch quarterbacks. We heard a lot of this in 2021 going back between Jarrett Deggy and getting Garrett Green involved in the game, is that for the offensive line, knowing what quarterback ends, how you block potentially different. Obviously, I don't know. I would just say it really stalled out the Cincinnati offense, not got any continuity until the game was way too late, never put anything together until it was too late. And I mean, looking at Jones' numbers at the end of the day, not horrible, not great, but not horrible. 166 passing yards with 2 touchdowns on 14 completions, 10 carries for 44 yards and a touchdown rushing. So it all went through him. But again, you started out the game with Lichtenberg, then you switch right back to Jones, and then you're going back and forth, series by series. And as that game went on, you could just tell that Jones was just kind of playing, I think, frustrated, just kind of doing whatever the hell he felt like back there, throwing balls way high and out of bounds with no accuracy, off his back foot, without really much of a care in the world of where it went and who it went to. I just think that but overall, this was a bad roster, a bad team, not as good as even on paper of what they'd showed. I mean, maybe it was just, again, because of the lack of motivation at this point in the season, playing on the road, just wanted to get in and get out as quick as possible without any injuries. But I really wasn't impressed by just about anybody on this roster in this game. And it was just really at times in which West Virginia had lapses in focus, I think, defensively. And again, when you thought the game was well at hand, winning it handedly, like, yes, I know West Virginia left 7 points on the board by that White whip kick personal foul that would have turned into a touchdown. So maybe it would have changed things, and you'd have played second stringers, but still, way too many first teamers out on the field into the fourth quarter. So you can't really necessarily say that Cincinnati scored on West Virginia's second team defense, because it was his first stringer still out there, but still winning by 21, whatever at the end of the day. I think for large portions of this game, the WVU defensive front seven played excellently, holding the Bearcats to just 141 yards rushing on 31 carries. That's like 80 fewer than their per-game average. So bravo to Lee Koba, Ben Cutter, Jared Bartlett, Sean Martin, Mike Lockhart. Great job by these guys to get Cincinnati off the field, frustrate them. I mean, that one sack that Mike Lockhart had on Jones, you could just tell, like, Jones just ate that sack whole and just was ready to, like, erupt like Mount Vesuvius because he was frustrated. That's exactly what you got to do. And now bring it against better opponents whenever West Virginia gets to a bowl game. So great job by the WVU front seven, getting Cincinnati off the field, and the offense, symbiotically playing with the defense, playing off the defense, scoring points in bunches. West Virginia didn't have to necessarily play tight at any point in time in this contest, so I just like what they did. Like I said, being here a little critical once again, but again, it's to just better this program to get to this level of contending for a conference championship next year. Taking your foot off the brake whenever you're up 21-0. When you're still in the first half, you can't let up until at least the third or fourth quarter. So continue to just stomp down on them. I think it was just kind of that lack in focus there that Lichtenberg was able to score to get them back 21-7. Then you're up 42-14. You let Cincinnati score again. And again, Neil Brown left his starters into the game. I just kept wondering, like, why is Green in there up 42-21? White was still in there at that point in time. They're trying to get a couple of first downs. Like, why not just turn the ball over to Nico Marchiol and let him run the offense? I don't know. I'm just glad that nobody got hurt in that game, in that fourth quarter, and West Virginia was able to waltz out with, still covering the spread, still winning by 2 touchdowns or more. I think he won with the style points that I said that West Virginia needed to from this contest, and that's it at the end of the day. So, again, takeaways for this one. Happy for the seniors finishing out the season, 5-1 at home. Happy for Coach Nealon and all the former players of West Virginia's football program that were able to be a part of his day and his celebration Friday night as well. I hope all those guys made generous donations to Country Roads Trust after it was all over, because West Virginia now has a star in its backfield in Jaheim White. And what this future core of White, along with Traylon Ray and Rodney Gallagher, oh my gosh, I'm just really excited. It has me, optimistic for the future for what these guys can become next year as sophomores, and how West Virginia, with Garrett Green at the helm of what this program can do. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, and that's why I'll pause here for this video. You're 1 win closer to 8 wins, so keep stacking victories. You got to go on the road now. You got to go against a Baylor team that's given up already for the season. Who knows what's going to be happening to Dave Aranda as head coach? How many of their players are already thinking about December 1st, whenever it's the transfer portal's opening date? Got crushed by TCU this past Saturday. And this is a season for Baylor in which they had 8 home games. Pretty sure they had 8 home games. It was either 5 or 7, and you've gone this bad on this year. Oh my! Somebody's gotta pay for that. You've been this bad, and you've had so many home games. So you got to go out there. You got to crush Baylor. It's another night game. Fortunately or unfortunately, whichever the way you look at it, but it's like, I guess another prime time audience, I guess you could say, to play on FS1. But would have liked to play a little bit earlier, I guess, to get out of Baylor with a win and get the boys back home to Morgantown earlier than later, like over the middle of the night. But I guess it is Thanksgiving break in that regard. So then if West Virginia can get to 8 wins, it means they'll play a quality opponent in a bowl game, maybe even a ranked opponent, and we'll see what happens from what their kind of bowl prospects are. So get Neil Brown up to 8 wins, reach that goal of 8 wins for a program, and then we'll see. We'll think ahead to the bowl game, in a couple of weeks to see who West Virginia plays. So awesome job by the Mountaineers. Did exactly what you needed to do to come away with a 3 touchdown game, and beat Cincinnati, upping that win total in this rivalry. Not a rivalry, 17-3-1 for a series. So excellent job capping it off at Milan Puskar Stadium on Saturday. Love to know what you thought about it. Leave your comments on here or on Twitter. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel. Getting closer to 100 subscribers for the entire 2023 season. So really appreciate that from everybody who's subscribed so far this year and watching my videos week in and week out. I really appreciate it. You really don't know how much it means to me to be able to have my therapy once or twice a week, talk about these Mountaineers in this 2023 season and what it can build upon for 2024. So yeah, like this video so other Mountaineers can see it across YouTube and across social media, and tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog that I do this each and every week and have a lot of fun bringing it to you. So I'll be back on I might do it Wednesday, kind of come to think of it, because Thanksgiving being Thursday, we might either talk Wednesday or Friday once again for the preview video for West Virginia Baylor. So everybody have a great week out there. Happy Thanksgiving. Salute. Let's go. Hail West Virginia.